Code in the House Day. Today I want to talk about how disorienting it is when the people that you thought you shared a faith with and thought you shared values with end up really on a different side of history than you. And I want to talk about that because I found out last night that a pastor at a church that I'm very familiar with in Minneapolis is an ICE field agent. And I don't know that pastor particularly, but I know the other pastors at the church, and we all used to go to the same church. And some of those people who attend that church I used to be close with. And that's so disorienting and confusing to see a city that I love, the only city that I lived in really as an adult in America, Minneapolis. To see everything that's happening in Minnesota is devastating. It's scary. My adult child lives there now. I have best friends who live there. I have lots of other friends who live there. I used to work with Somalis there. I used to work in the school system there. I have friends who work in the school system there. I mean, my list just goes on. And so I think it just almost took my breath away to hear that someone at a church that I wouldn't attend now, but I might have attended 15 years ago, to hear that somehow things are being taught at that church in such a way that one of the leadership would be part of ICE. It's just completely, it's not surprising because of what's happened with a large percent of white evangelicals in America, 82%, I guess. At least those were the numbers in all three elections. But it's just devastating, I think, for me as a person who values my Christian faith and values the core tenets of that faith, which are caring for the poor, welcoming the stranger. I mean, it's very clear. The Bible is very clear. And so having been in churches where that kind of thing was talked about, it's so confusing and disorienting to see so many people who I used to agree with be in this mindset of blaming immigrants and terrorizing immigrants, and now just completely not caring about the constitutional values that they would have said they wanted to protect. Like, it's extremely disorienting. And so I just wanted to mention that that's on my mind right now. I like to talk about fear in one hand and hope in the other hand. The fear here, if you can relate to me, please let me know in the comments. If you are one of the 17 or 18% who is a person of faith who's white in America, who isn't okay with what's going on, I would love to hear from you. I think one of the things that has given me hope, I'm going to skip to hope and then go back to fear, is knowing that there are people who see this clearly. There are people who see this clearly about their faith and the tenets of the Christian faith, and that Christian nationalism is not it. The fear, I think, here, what is the fear? I don't even know if in this hand I'm holding fear, or I might just be holding like deep disappointment and betrayal, because as a multiracial family, through adoption, which is a whole nother subject I can talk about on a different day, but having had church support me having a multiracial family, but then not protecting my multiracial family, and in fact making America deeply, deeply unsafe for my multiracial family, not to mention our brothers and sisters, if we're going to think about things from a Christian perspective, our brothers and sisters who aren't white, like just, it's, all of it is very deeply disappointing. I've felt this way for the last decade. It's been to be betrayed over and over and over by people that you used to call close and you thought you had something in common with. And then just seeing like how the white evangelical church has been co-opted, like it's just been deeply disturbing, disappointing, and isolating. So yeah, if you can relate, I would love to hear from you. So the questions that sort of come up for me over the last decade have been, well, who can I trust now? Who is trustworthy? Are any Christians trustworthy? I've really, really appreciated coming to understand more about the Black church. There is a great book called Divided by Faith that talks about how the Black church and the white church came to be and the forces at play there. My dog, my Shar-Pei, is shaking over there. That's a really interesting book if you'd like to delve into these topics. But I would just say that as I reflect on all of this, like institutions have failed my family, institutions have failed non-white Christians, white Christian institutions that say they cared about the refugee, that say they cared about children, they've failed. The institutions have failed. And yet, there are people, there are voices out there, and there are organizations out there who are doing good things. And so I just have sorted through these feelings of betrayal when so many white evangelicals voted for Trump 3 times. I mean, mind-blowing. Family members, extended family members of ours. Yeah, and just either not understanding the harm that it does to families like mine that they say they support, or I don't know, thinking that these things, like really believing the lies of like, oh, this is really for the good of the people. I don't know. It's just a really confusing thing in the Christian realm, but it's very entrenched. What I did when that harm became personal and when I knew that those spaces weren't safe anymore, I mean, thankfully we had moved out of the spaces that felt particularly unsafe very shortly, 15 years ago, very shortly after our second adoption. And so I have exposure to people and I have exposure to churches, both my church that I grew up in and the church that I ended up in America, where like I felt like our family was genuinely cared for. I mean, the church I grew up in, I didn't have a family yet, but I know that there are places that are safe within the Christian tradition for my family, but I really, really had to, the more we passed elections where I felt this betrayal by the white evangelical church, because slowly, it dawned on me just like the reality of the history there and the reality of the racism there and the white supremacy. But the way that I came through that, still having faith, which I do not blame anybody who was not able to come through the last 10 years with faith still. But for me, it was seeing and hearing very particular voices that I could relate to, that were speaking out against what was going on in America, that continue to speak out. And I just wanted to highlight some of those voices today because they are really what has helped me retain my faith and remember what is important, the core tenets of what Christianity is supposed to be, as compared to the Christian nationalism that's taken complete hold of America. So here's some of the people. These are people who I watched over years show up and spoke about things, speaking out for vulnerable people. These are people who weren't protecting institutions, which I have seen so many times, especially within the church realm that I was discussing earlier, the one that I'm familiar with, where the pastor is an ICE field agent, but then also the church that planted that church. So there are very, very famous, strong Christian voices who are supposed to be Christian voices who have protected institutions. I've seen it happen repeatedly instead of protecting vulnerable groups. So one person that I really like is Jemar Tisby. His book, The Color of Compromise, really helped me understand how we got to this place, how the white evangelical church got to this place. Oh, I didn't even put her on here, but another book is Jesus and John Wayne by Kristin, I don't know how to pronounce her middle name, or maybe it was like her maiden name, Kobes Du Mez, I hope. KK Du Mez, I think is the emails that I get. Jesus and John Wayne is a very, very interesting book. So that's Jemar Tisby, The Color of Compromise, which talks about the white evangelical church, or just the white church in general in America, like aligning itself with politics and power instead of with the vulnerable, which is what Christianity is supposed to be about. I really love Latasha Morrison. She is the founder of an organization called Be the Bridge, which teaches things that are necessary for racial reconciliation, and also like real racial reconciliation, not like the fake stuff that was like unity over truth. Unity, basically, there's a lot going on in the American church. So anyway, love Be the Bridge. Great resources and education. Latasha Morrison always has really wise things to say. J.S. Park is a chaplain. Can you hear it? That's my dog shaking again. J.S. Park is a chaplain, and he writes on subjects of grief and faith. And I think the thing I appreciated most that I've heard him say on multiple occasions is like, if your theology doesn't hold up in somebody's worst moments, when they have just lost somebody, or they have somebody there, or they're on their deathbed, if your theology like doesn't have the kind of comfort that's needed there, and that will actually bring real comfort there to a real situation, then like he's not interested in that theology. Basically, I'm paraphrasing, so I hope that that's a good paraphrase. But he wrote a really good book called As Long as You Need, about grief. That was very helpful for me after losing Gretchen. So he has a really meaningful account on Instagram. Dante Stewart, I think the name of his book is Shoutin at the Fire. I have not read Dante's book. Is that true? I don't think I've read Dante's book. I really, really like his Instagram account. When I just feel like everything is falling apart in America and that I don't know how to make sense of it from the perspective of a person of faith, Dante's account really makes me feel like somebody is speaking to the things that I am concerned about. Shannan Martin, really like Shannan. Oh, I just keep thinking of people. So Shannan has a book coming out. Well, she has a book that, sorry, Shannan, I have not read, called Just Say Hello, Start with Hello. And it's talking about like actually having relationships with your neighbors. Shannan has a really interesting story. It's Shannan with an A-N, Martin. And she has a similar background to me, having been politically and ideologically on a different page than she is now, as like in the white evangelical church. So her words are always very encouraging to me. Also, her book that's coming out soon is called Counterweights. And it's basically like another version of Find the Beauty, which I say all the time, or like some people call it glimmers or micro joys. So those are a bunch of different ways to say like, you really have to notice beauty, like to stay afloat in this world. So anyway, Shannan has wonderful things to say and has a really interesting perspective. If you happen to find yourself as somebody who used to be in white evangelical spaces and realize like you don't disagree, and realize you don't agree with where those spaces have gone, but you still find your faith important to you. Janae Amen. I really appreciate her writing and her voice on living through abuse in the church. I have more people than I can count on two hands that I know who have experienced church abuse and who've been like thrown under the bus by the church. And usually it was for speaking up for issues like racial justice. And if that doesn't just tell you how wrong it all is, I don't know what to tell you. But Janae, it's so funny because I've interacted with her on Instagram, but it's like you don't hear people's names, you read them. Anyway, she has a really cool perspective and helpful perspective on faith and maintaining your faith after experiencing abuse in the church. Austin Channing Brown is a wonderful person to follow. I really appreciate her voice. Lisa Sharon Harper. I mean, I could go on. There are a lot of people out there who are speaking out and who are talking about their faith when they are part of the resistance. I think talking about the things that they're talking about is their protest of beauty. And so I'm just thankful for those voices in the world. So what this gave me was camaraderie, knowing that there are these other voices out there who care about their faith and then do not agree with what's going on. That really helped me not feel gaslit, not feel, there goes the shaking Sharpay again, not feeling completely alone. So anyway, I just wanted to share those people with you if you happen to be in the same boat as me. And maybe you're trying to figure out how to hold on to your Christian faith in America when you deeply disagree with Christian nationalism and everything that's gone on. So, if you're disoriented by everything that's going on, if you're disoriented as a person with a Christian faith, I would say that my summary for you is look for the people who are concerned about protecting people, not systems. The people that are trustworthy are the people who are protecting people, not systems, not ideologies. They're protecting humans who are in danger. That's how I found the people that I could trust. And I hope that you have found those voices as well. Please enjoy Meditation Minute, especially if you're in Minnesota. Just calm your body down. Meditation Minute is slow on purpose. My channel is slow on purpose because our nervous systems need a break. We need to hear things at human speed, and we need to see beauty. So that's what Meditation Minute is about. Enjoy.